So, as usual, I brought for you a wonderful video lecture, and today I brought for you the lecture on Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. There's a wonderful adventurous novel written by Mark Twain. Mark Twain is the eminent American novelist. And let's see here a small bio of Mark Twain. Mark Twain real name was Samuel Longholm Clemens. He was born on November 30th, 1835 in San Francisco, California. And he was lived up to 75 years and grew up along the Mississippi River and quit the school at the age of 12. Died on April 21, 1910. Uh, Mark Twain's works are: he is a fiction writer, a non-fiction writer, writer of historic novels, and a short story writer too. And his travel books, non-fictions, are Innocent Abroad, Life on Mississippi. These two are his travel books, non-fictional works. The historical novels are The Prince and the Pauper and uh, Connect- Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. These two are historical novels, and the third third genre is short stories. His short stories are the celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras Country is one of the short story collection, and his novels are The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn was written after Adventures of Tom Sawyer Gang, but it is these two are Huckleberry Finn and Adventures of Tom Sawyer Gang. Tom Sawyer Gang is the first one, and its sequel is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. At the end of the Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, a poor boy with a drunken father, and his friend Tom Sawyer, a middle class boy with an imagination too active for his own good, found a robber's stash of gold. As a result of his adventure, Huck gained quite a bit of money, and which the bank held for him in trust. Huck was taken in by the widow Douglas, a kind but stifling woman who lives with her sister, and the self-righteous Miss Watson. These two are the only female characters which appear in the novel, both the novels. But this is the end of Tom Sawyer and Gang, and even the beginning of Huckleberry Finn. When we come to the introduction part of it, Mark Twain described the major theme of Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as a sound heart. and a deformed conscience come into collision, and conscience suffers defeat. Here, a sound heart is a good and honest heart. A deformed conscience, a conscience influenced by the laws of society and a sense of duty toward those laws, and that is the adventure led by Hakka. When we get into the novel, here some of the key facts are there about the novel. And is the novel has genres. The genre like satiric novel. This is a satirical novel because of the novel is addressing about the problems of black people in America, and the work that uses humor, irony, and extreme exaggeration to ridiculous society order to bring about change. And because the period which is from 1835 to 1845 is a crucial period in America, that American society wanted to bring a change in its society. So those conditions were ridiculed, and you can able to see here that the adventure of the niggers on Mississippi River in picture, narrator and protagonist. Hakka is both. He is the narrator and he is also the protagonist of the novel Huckleberry Finn, and literal, realistic, and practical. The boy appears to be true, realistic, and the boy doesn't have complete idea on life, but he's more practical, and that's the American theme. Adventure is justified with the practical attitude of a Huck setting. When we look at the novel was set during the period 1835 to 1845, just before to the Civil War. And there's a rough time, but not exactly the correct time. There's 10-year time. Place. When we come to the place of this novel, the novel, most of the novel, majority 60 to 70% of the novel was on Mississippi River town of St. Petersburg, Missouri, and the adventure continues down the Mississippi into Arkansas mountains. Then when we come to the themes, what does Mark Twain teaches us about each idea? And here he is trying to say something about realism and slavery in America, and he is trying to say something about intellectual and moral education which Americans need in their society. The America is a great country that discrimination is not away from them, because they are saying themselves as grand and great, but still they have some of the ridiculous feelings with them. That is slaverism with them, and they are following it. And cultural differences are there among American society. Here, the hypocrisy of civilized society. Americans are saying great, but still racism is there among the people in America. Racism and slavery. Although written 20 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, America American in a proclamation of emancipation for giving rights to the people in American society. That was the period 1820s, but there are no conditions were changed in America, and that were depicted in the novel. And especially the South was still struggling with racism and there are after effects of slavery. And insidious racism arose near the end of Reconstruction that oppressed black for illegal and hypocritical reasons, without any reason, without any cause, without any purpose. Black people were suffered in America till to 1960s. Though here we can consider it as nothing but the white people still are dominant, the white people are adamant, black people are not justified. Twain exposes the hypocrisy of slavery and demonstrates how racism distorts the oppressor as much as the oppressed. The entire novel is trying to pose, cast a look at the racism, how racism is in the American societies, and how black people were oppressed in American society. The result is a world of moral confusion. Here, the writer is successful in giving a free life to a nigger, intellectual and moral education. Huck is an uneducated boy. He didn't go to school, he didn't study much in schools. He destructs the morals and recepts of the society that treats him as an outcast and fails to protect him from abuse. Because of all these, uneducated and informal behavior is unable to protect him from the severe threats of the society. Her questions his teachings, especially regarding race and slavery. The boy wanted a free life, and that's the reason he's trying to question every time the teachings which are related to the beliefs of society, like looking at the people in somewhat in a low grading. In many instances, Huck chooses to go to hell rather than go along with the rule of society. Here, the boy is trying to hell every time. Go to hell with all the policies what you have adopted in society for practice. The hypocrisy of a civilized society. Civilized to Huck means here civilized means it's completely different word in case of this boy. Civilized means regular baths, uncomfortable clothes, mandatory school attendance, degraded rules that defy logic. And these are civilized, not other. Like civilized, it means people, how we can able to treat the people in society and how we should be with some other person in society. Like it is some completely deviating in our civilized meaning what we have in our mind. When we compare with that here, Huck is completely away from that perception. And Huck's drunkard, abusive father gets to keep custody of Huck because he is his natural father. The injustice of slavery that keeps Jim from his family. Here, Jim's attitude because of his father, drunkard father, made his life miserable. Seemingly good people are prejudiced slave owners and society, American society. Some of the people turn as owners of the slaves, and some of the people turn as slaves, and that is the discrimination in American society we can able to find in the novel. And terrible acts go unpunished while lesser crimes lead to serve punishment. Here, if any of the nigger is trying to escape from his owner, they are punished. They are sentenced. Like here, black people are degraded. Niggers are treated as animal. The nigger trading centers were also there in America during 1820s and 1850s around. Because if we read this novel, we'll be come to a conclusion on that. And here. Motifs are recurring structures. Contrasts are literary devices that can help to develop and inform the text's major themes. The motifs are childhood. Here, Huck's youth is an important factor in his moral education. Only a child is open-minded enough to undergo the kind of development that Huck does not. Here, being a boy, he tried to create an awareness among the peers of his and that is one of the motive, and it is one encouragement to all his fellow people and the novel. And lives and cons. Huckleberry Finn is full of malicious lies and scams. The lies are bad and hurt a number of innocent people. We can able to see some of the lies are there which are harmful and pretend like Jim. Superstitions and folk beliefs. Jim believes in a wide range of superstitions and folk tales. Although Huck is reluctant to believe at first, many of the beliefs indeed have some basis in reality. Now we'll have adequate superstitious beliefs because of illiterate, because of nigger life. Some of the superstitious beliefs are there in the people, and parodies of popular romance novels. The story is full of people with base their lives on romantic literary models and stereotypes of various kinds. Some Tom Sawyer, for example, bases his life and actions on adventure novels. Here, the boy Jim trying to do some adventures because what he has read. Based on that, based on some of his readings, he tried to do some adventures in his real life. Conflict and climax. Major conflict. Huck's internal struggle with his deformed conscience is one of the conflict which we can able to see in the novel, because being a nigger he wanted to free a nigger. And climax, the point in the story where the protagonist's conflict is revolved, leading to the resolution of a society. In Climax, we can able to see the point of the story where the hero's conflict is resolved. But the boy is finally adopted by a person and provided good education, leading to the resolution of the society. The climax of a Huckleberry Finn is when Huck decides to sell Jim out of slavery from the Phelps farm, his own moral code, despite the fact that he believes he will suffer in hell for it. Like stealing is one. The boy has a moral thought. He did a rob. He has stolen Jim from one of Phelps farmer, and because of that, he was sentenced and put into the hell. Those are the things which we can find in the novel. Major symbol: Mississippi River used as a symbol. In Huck Finn, the river symbolizes freedom and becomes a symbolic of Huck's journey to discover his natural virtue. The current determines the direction of the raft as well as Huck's life. It is how it is going. The raft is moving based on the currents of Mississippi River because they are unable to continue their voice on river Mississippi. Depends on water current, depends on wind flow. They are going because their raft is very natural one. And here there is a major contrast between life on the river and the life on shore, because life on the river uncivilized and is peaceful and easy, yet not totally without danger. However, life on shore civilized can be cruel, authoritarian, hypocritical, and reflective of what Twain called the damned human race. Life on the raft is paradoxical. Even though they are confined to a small space on the raft, Huck and Jim experiences great freedom on the raft. They are free on a small space, but on entire the bigger space they are not happy. But on raft on water, though they have threat every time, they are happy on raft on small space only. Critics comments, and these are some of the comments of the critics which we can find. And here the novel, when it is going to publish in 1884, these are the comments by one of the libraries. You can just go through it. And after publication in 1885, these are the comments that we can able to find. And but anyhow, here in 1992, the comments by some of the writers on Huckleberry Finn. And these are also some of the comments still in 1992, comments in 1992. And Twain's view on slaveries. As a schoolboy, Twain had no aversion to slavery. He was not aware there was anything wrong with it. The paper said nothing against it. Churches thought that God approved slaveries. He took a strong liking to blacks when they worked on his family's farm. He and his family were friends with many blacks in his hometown of Hannibal. Twain's family owned a slave that he deeply admired. Twain called him Uncle Donald. The characters of Jim and Huck Finn is said to be modeled after this man. He's also mentioned in several other Twain stories under his real name. And this is just about the novel, Mark Twain's novel, Huckleberry Finn. And thank you for watching my video lecture. Thank you. Bye.